Are you trapped in your house because of your diarrhea from IBS, Crohn's, or colitis? Then you're going to want to watch this video. I've helped many people overcome this. So the first step is you need to become aware of when you get the urge to go. Oh, every time I leave the house, I have to go to the bathroom. We need to be a little bit more specific than that. So I had one guy who, when we were working together, he said, okay, every time I get in the car, I have to go to the bathroom. And I said, okay, so when did that pattern start? This guy was in college, I think. Was it like that in elementary school? No. Was it like that in middle school? No. Was it like that in high school? Well, half of high school. I started junior year, my third year of high school. Okay. What happened your third year of high school? Well, there's this girl I really liked, and then I found out that she slept with somebody else. Then I asked him, how did you find out that information? And he said he got a text message from one of his friends. So right there, we have a potential PTSD trigger from that traumatic event. This is probably crappy information he didn't want to hear, he wanted to get rid of, when his subconscious is like, oh, this is what disgusting crap. I want to get rid of it, but you literally can't. And so that was the start of it. That's when his symptoms started. But even then, his symptoms weren't bad in the car just yet. And again, he's checking, when you're in the car, what do? You check your phone all the time, especially if you're a passenger. And I said, well, when do you get symptoms in the car? Like, next time you go in the car, try to pinpoint, when it is you get the urge. Is it when you get in the car? Is it when, you turn the key, or at stoplights or stop signs? And then next week he got back to me and he said, always at stop signs. At stop signs, that's when, or at stoplights, that's when I get symptoms. And I said, okay, well, can you remember something that had to do with stoplights? And he says, oh man, this one time, I was in the car with my whole family and we got stopped at a stoplight and there was tons of traffic, and I went to the bathroom in my pants with a bunch of people in the car. And then on the way back, the same thing happened. So it was extremely embarrassing and extremely traumatizing. So this person had two conflict shocks. Of the first one being the girl situation, and then the second one being his symptoms being a conflict shock, crapping himself in front of his whole family and, being embarrassed about it. Just bringing this to consciousness stopped the symptom, because he was already pretty much consciously over this girl. He understood his symptoms from a German New Medicine perspective. He understood for a long time that it was caused by, drama with this girl. It was just these subconscious PTSD triggers putting his gut in and out of overdrive. And a lot of the times the way we stop them is we just bring them to consciousness. But there was also a little bit of work of helping somebody get over the fear of hopping into the car. And they have that fear because they don't understand what's causing their symptoms. But when they understand, when they truly believe that it's caused by these PTSD triggers, and how they get formed and how to get rid of them, then they can go into the car confidently knowing that they're not going to get symptoms. So, there's this little bit of leap of faith and belief that we need to have here. But I'm telling you, your brain is choosing very specific moments in time. It's not like, oh, I just have all diarrhea all day and it's just random. No, think of how much coordination is required from your brain and from your body to have diarrhea. Your brain needs to tell all of your gut muscles to contract in unison. It needs to add water in there. It's super confusing. I don't know all the steps, but your brain is in it, and it's expelling precious nutrients precious. I know we take food for granted nowadays because there's food on every street corner here. But in the wild, I mean, you got to burn 1,000 calories to get 1,000 calories if you're lucky. So it's expelling this precious nutrients for a purpose, even though it's stupid. I know I'm choking on my own words here because it's just, I think these programs, these adaptations are for a time which I think are best suited before mammals, if you ask me. But that's what's going on. Now, I have a free version of my 13-day protocol in my bio link where I go into much more detail. I show you the science, I show you the lab studies about how IBS, Crohn's, colitis, leaky gut, candida is caused by a traumatic event. Go check it out there.